Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to the From the Stands podcast. Today, we probably have our biggest guest yet. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, the biggest Darwin Núñez fan we could find. It's Pete Bock. How are you doing, Pete?
Hello, guys. You're great. I'm really well. Thank you very much. Cheers for having us.
That's fine. That's fine. So we've got a couple of questions for you. So first of all, so you've pretty much blown up on TikTok, I'd say, the past 2 years. What has been the biggest difference for you before social media to now? Like, what's the biggest difference in your life?
Completely changed my career, mate. I was a teacher. I was a
Mm.
literally teacher. I was. You. What year are you guys in? You in sixth form?
We're in college.
You're in college.
Last
So I
year.
was.
Mm.
I was head of year 12 and 13 a year
Wow.
ago. So totally changed your career. Totally means the way you make money is completely different. The opportunities are unbelievable. Kind of meet other incredible TikTok
Mm.
and YouTube creators and
Yeah.
work with those guys, collaborations,
Mm.
everything like that. So, yeah, it's changed a lot about my life.
What's the biggest collaboration you say you've done? I bet you've been on pitch side, haven't you?
Was on pitch side.
You were, I
Yes,
believe.
listen,
Yeah.
as a collaboration, that's probably the biggest because the
Mm.
one when I went to Anfield with them. So we did the
Mm.
first ever YouTube pitch side live stream, which has never happened
Oh
before.
yeah,
So
I remember that. Yeah.
that's cool.
And I believe you were on for the Newcastle Liverpool game before the Pope got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah, that
That
was the
game.
game. Yeah, Darwin
Mm.
scored in that game, much
Mm.
to the amazing sat next to Willany and
Mm.
obviously Lewis Bowden, who's now become
Oh God, Lewis
world
Bowden.
famous.
Yeah.
We got someone who's not a big fan of Lewis Bowden.
No, I can't stand him. To be honest. Can't stand him.
But he
The
does.
only thing I'll say is he's very aware.
He's
Mm.
smart
Yeah.
as well, how he does it.
Yeah.
If you guys listen to talk, I don't know how often you do, but if you ever listen to the fellas podcast, Lewis Baker was on like not the most recent, but the one before that, and they talk about Lewis, and he's literally like he knows what he's doing.
Well,
Oh,
you can,
yeah.
they've made
That's why I respect him a lot, because he knows what he's doing, but at the same time he does harass a lot of people, including me. So I'm kind of victim to it. But I mean,
yeah, I could definitely see how he's jarring, 100%.
yeah.
I mean, you can see they've released some videos on the fella studios, I think, like what goes on behind the scenes, and you can see he is probably very good at his job if he's got a job there. But I'd like to move on. So you do a lot of mental health type content. What inspired you to start making content like that?
So, as I said, so I used to work in a school, but my role really, as much as I did teach PE, my most prominent role was to support people with their mental health. I had to, wouldn't have to, but I was asked if I would kind of work with people across all year groups, so year 7 to 12, and try and just sort of work out how their anxieties affect them and give them some support and just try and be someone so they could speak to and I suppose have that kind of bond with as a member of staff. And when I started doing TikTok, it was purely just for fun. And when you're expected to make 2, 3, sometimes 4 videos every day, you get to about 3 months down the line and go, flipping heck, I've made hundreds of videos and I've run out of content. I've run out of things I can talk about. So I've just started to self-reflect and be like, well, I'll make content about being a PE teacher. I'll make content about being a mental health support worker. And that's just sort of naturally built into what I wanted to do about. And so I was hoping to show that, if you speak to people in school, this is how staff should react. If you are a wannabe teacher, like this is how you should talk to people. And it was just kind of meant to be educational from that perspective.
Yeah, I think when you're doing content creation, there's a point where you stop making content for everyone else and do content that you want to make. Stop, like, just do what you want to make, what makes you feel comfortable, and that is probably like everyone has that step when they're doing content creation.
I think it's incredibly difficult to make inauthentic content and have it do well.
You got to be enjoying what you're doing as well, and like even the viewers can see if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then they're not going to enjoy watching.
But just, you won't have the passion for it, and you've got to do this stuff like it's hard yards. You got to do a lot of work to be successful in this.
So I'd like to move on to Fanhub. Now you're a part of Fanhub, aren't you? Very sick.
100%,
I
yeah.
believe we've all got Fanhub, haven't we?
Yeah, I
Josh?
got a free beanie the other week. Free me out.
Nice.
I'm only one game away from getting one, so hopefully they're not sold out by the time I get there.
They are, but they're being restocked, mate. So
Oh,
you don't
okay,
have to worry.
thank God. So obviously you are a big part of Fanhub. How did that all come about, and what do you reckon the future holds for Fanhub?
Mate, I'm so glad you asked me about Fanhub. That came about because literally I've relocated to Bristol, so I'm originally from Merseyside, relocated to Bristol. Was looking for work within social media because being BOC is great. It's really exciting, but it doesn't make lots of money. Like, it's not a massive earner. And this job come up. I was like literally looking like anyone would on typical job websites. This come up, and as soon as I saw it, I said to my wife, I was like, I have to get that job. Like, that is me right now. So when I went to them, I felt really confident they would take me. I felt really, really sure that they would want me, because what they were looking for was like a presenter.
Yeah.
And everything about the role was exactly what I could do. And I knew, even though I never think of myself as having a massive profile because I haven't got that many followers, but I know a lot of people in football at least recognize the face and know who I am.
Very recognizable face.
That sort of stuff, do you know? So when I applied for the job, I felt really confident. I got it, and I love it. And the future for Fanhub is essentially trying to find people. So we've got, for anyone who doesn't know what Fanhub is, so Fanhub is an app that represents football fans rather than football players or football teams and things like that. So all the other apps do that and do, how do you think the league predictions and bets or whatever. We're about fans and trying to kind of go, do you know what? Thousands of people travel hundreds and hundreds of miles every single weekend to go and watch their League Two club, and they get no recognition for it. So we do rewards, like you guys were saying, with the hats, the t-shirts, and whatever. And the next stages are going to be Fanhub Academy. This is exclusive, by the way. No one else knows about this. Fanhub Academy, so that's going to be us teaching people who want to do football social media.
Wow.
And Fanhub is going to have its own hub within itself, so almost like a football version of TikTok built in the app. So they are going to be out early 24. So that's really soon, obviously. So in like 2 months, basically. And that is the future for myself as well, is to almost kind of go full circle back into teaching, but teaching people to be better content creators.
I mean, is that allowed to stay in as well? That's an exclusive.
That's fine. That's
fine.
It's
getting all the exclusives.
It's something we haven't spoken about it because we're not ready to recruit just yet, because we're just in the how will the course look like, what will the modules be, things like that. Like, this is still the planning stage, but it's not as if it's not going to happen. Like, I even know the date is going to come out, which I won't reveal.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, thank you very much. It all sounds very promising. I mean, you've been all around the southwest, haven't you? At Torquay the other night, weren't you?
Yeah.
Forest Green. We actually want to go to Forest Green for a video, to be fair, don't we, Josh?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so it's an interesting ground, isn't it, to say the least.
It's, well, do you know what? So I mean, I made my video in stages when I went there, and when you go through the home end, everything's pretty sound. I mean, the vegan food is sort of whatever you think of that, but they've got a nice enough bar. The stadium isn't massive, but it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But then it was only when I kind of went, actually, if you come as an away fan, you've got no cover. You can't go to the bar, so you can't have a drink or anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, as an away fan visit, I could totally see why most people say it's a massively tin pot ground. It's crap going there. As a home fan, it's actually all right. So yeah, it'd be cool to see what you think of it.
Yeah, it's a very unique club. I mean, with the away fan, it's quite hidden away, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it's not nice getting there, to be quite honest. If you guys are going to go, I'd see if someone can drive you or something, because public transport, I can imagine, might be a bit of a mare. Especially, where are you based?
Down.
So near.
Okay, cool. So actually, you're not really that far. Okay, cool. You're not that far from us, anyway. Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's in the middle of the countryside, in the middle of North Gloucester.
Yeah, it's about an hour away from us, so if we can get someone to drive us, that's definitely a plan in the future. Josh, Harvey, have you got anything you want to ask?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to ask, so the other day we interviewed Tim Chase, who's like the CEO of this new company called Striver. And pretty much what it is, it's like the first social media platform for football fans, well, any fans really, without hate. And they've teamed up with players like Roberto Carlos and Harry Maguire. And it uses like AI to eliminate hate on the app. So it like recognizes when hate's being used. So my question to you is, obviously we've seen a lot of hate on platforms like TikTok and Twitter and all that sort of stuff. So my question is like, is this something you'd like to see TikTok or maybe even Twitter implement in the future?
Can I take it back a step? So
yeah,
it really depends. So if you ever go, we just talked about Fanhub, if you ever go on the Fanhub app, a lot of the questions that we ask provokes a reaction. So we ask like, who do you think's got the biggest Tim Pot round? Now, if you ask that to say a Bristol Rovers fan, they're probably going to say Ashton Gate. And then Bristol City fans come in on the chat and start to comment reply, and that means that the video gets more exposure because you get more comments, you get more interaction, right? So we're not trying to stir hate, but you are trying to create a reaction. So I don't like hate. I don't like people going, oh, F off and, you know, going too deep and calling people whatever, right? We don't need to talk about it. You know what it's like to read hate messages. That stuff is disgusting and definitely needs to be tackled. Twitter is by far the worst. TikTok at least has some, you know, you can at least do your settings. You can block certain words and things like that, so you can actually have a bit of control. Twitter is just, there is just nothing at all, is there? Like, there's no, like, I don't understand how that's legally still going, to be quite honest, but that's whatever. I'm not a big fan of Twitter, to be quite honest. It definitely needs something to be implemented. So the idea of this thing, what's it called? Stravi?
Striver. Yeah,
Striver.
Like,
sorry, Striver.
Yeah, they released it last week. Be the world's first hate-free platform, basically, for football fans.
It's a really, really cool idea. I like the idea. You eradicate a lot of that, what I was saying about sort of back and forth with people having their opinions. So you kind of have like, you want to have a platform where people can voice an opinion. A bit like go back to pitch, a bit like what Tom Garrett and Lewis do, which is fun and funny and entertaining, but it doesn't go too deep and it doesn't go too far in terms of they're not calling each other out for fights and saying go and do something. You know what I mean? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what that's about. Actually, interesting the name as well, very similar to Strava, which is one of the most popular fitness apps.
Yeah. Well, they are very different, like apps in general, so I don't think there should be a problem with that, but yeah. Have you got anything else?
Yeah,
shall I go? Yeah, so I guess my first question to you, Pete, is obviously when you first blew up, how did that actually feel? You know, as you know, obviously an individual who was a PE teacher, and then suddenly you're recognised. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, really depends on what kind of elements of that you're talking about. So at the very start, I absolutely hated it, and I wanted to quit TikTok. Didn't want the attention, didn't like all the hate I got, didn't like that negative attention that came with it. And then when things like when Pitchside showed my video to Van Dijk and things like that, like niceties happened, came from being recognized. And then people start to ask for photos in the street and stuff like that, and you're kind of like, oh, that's weird but nice. Eventually, I think I've managed to win most people around again to be like, look, I'm actually not weird. Like, this is just something that I just decided I was just a bit happy on that Friday and made that stupid video. And since then, absolutely brilliant, mate. Like, it's fantastic. And it was difficult, obviously, working in a school. As I say, I was head of year 12 and 13. Like, can you imagine your head of college doing what I do? Like, it's very, very different.
How quickly did people find out? Like the students, how quickly did they find out that you were doing TikTok?
Mate, they knew from all the strips. So basically, I worked at Ashton Gate, worked at Bristol City as a lecturer, and my very first viral video came out, and all my kids knew. And like, well, I say kids, they're like 17, but they all knew within about a month of me starting TikTok that I was on there.
Wow.
So when I went to this new school to be head of year 12 and 13, I had about 15k followers. So it took them about 10 days before they started to know that I was on there. And then when that video came out about 9 months later, they all knew.
Was it quite a positive reception from them? Although they were all like,
"Oh yeah, massive." No, to be fair, all the kids, all the people I've ever worked with in school were always like, I think as much as you could be really easy for them to take the piss, and maybe they did in their own time, like that's fine. But they were really kind of like in awe of the fact that most of them want to be TikTokers and YouTubers and things like that. So when it's like a member of staff who suddenly got 80, 90, 100,000 followers, they kind of were like, oh, wow, that's awesome. So they were very positive in their response.
Yeah. Is there any chance you got time for a quick predictions for the game week this weekend?
Of course, yeah, go for it.
All right, so coming up first, we have got big one at 12:30. You got Man City, Liverpool. You know what? We'll go with you, Pete, first. I think we know who you're going to go with, but yeah, give us your prediction.
Just okay.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a really, really close, touchy game, 0-0 half time. Liverpool to win it 1-0. Darwin Nunez.
Okay, fair enough. Harvey, Josh, who have you got?
Is it at Anfield or?
It's at the Etihad.
Yeah.
Etihad or you know, I think Man City haven't been great. I mean, the draw with Chelsea, I mean, they didn't look amazing. So I could see a draw. I'm going to say 2-2.
Cool.
You taking the words out of my mouth. I was about to say 2-2 as well.
Yeah, fair.
You know,
great game.
You know, Liverpool have had a better start to the season than they did last season. Man City well, to be fair, I'm excited for this title race. It could be anyone at this point.
Yeah.
It's very close at the top of the table.
That's what we haven't had in years as well, which is good.
No one running away with it, which is good. But I'm going to go with a 1-1, I reckon. A Darwin Nunez goal, though. He's looking good this season, I will say. He is looking good.
Just needs to convert those chances.
Scored 3 on international duty.
Fair play. All right, we're going to Turf Moor. We've got Burnley versus West Ham. Pete, who are you saying in that one?
100% West Ham. I'm going to go comfortable 2-0.
Okay. Harvey and Josh?
I'll say 3-1 West Ham. I had high hopes of Burnley this season, but they haven't looked great, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm going 4-1 West Ham. I have a feeling something with James Ward-Prowse. He's going to score a magical free kick or something. I just got that feeling.
Oh, if he scores that, we're going to clip it and then say that you saw it coming. But I'm actually going to agree with Pete. I reckon 2-0 as well. I reckon a clean sheet for Areola in my FPL. There we go.
I've got him as well.
Yeah.
I've just put him in.
So, we have got Luton versus Crystal Palace next. Pete, who have you got in that one?
Luton, Crystal Palace, both dreadful. I'm going to say 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. They're not particularly both the best teams. Is Eze injured? Is he still injured or is he back?
He is the difference to Crystal Palace for sure. I don't know if he's injured or not.
Yeah, if he's injured, I'm gonna say Luton are gonna nick it. But if he's fit, then I think Palace will nick it. So you know what? I'm gonna be optimistic and say I'm gonna say Luton win.
Okay.
Yeah, now I'm not a Palace fan, but I do have a little soft spot for Palace, so I'm going to go 3-2 Palace.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 Palace. I think they'll nick it in the closing minutes, I reckon. So then St James's Park, big one, Newcastle versus Chelsea. Of course, Newcastle in there got a pretty heavy injury list at the moment. This is at St James's Park. Pete, who have you got on this one?
This is really difficult, because they are very good at home, Newcastle, but that injury list that's as bad as an injury list you could get. And Chelsea are really, really bouncing back. I'm going to go Chelsea to win the game 2-1.
Okay. We got 2 Chelsea fans up next. I wonder who they're going to pick.
Well, obviously, if Newcastle had a fully fit team and they didn't have no one injured, I think it'd be a really hard game, and I'd probably even say Newcastle would win. But because of their injury list, I still think it'd be a hard game, obviously, at St James's Park. But I still think the way Chelsea are bouncing at the moment, they've only lost one game in the past like 2 months now. So I'm gonna say a 2-1 Chelsea win.
All right, Pete. If I said 5-1 Chelsea, what would you say to that?
I don't really know, pal. Like you've definitely got the firepower, creatively, I should say. It's just whether is Nick Jackson going to put them in the net or not. And it's very similar with us with Darwin, isn't it? It's really similar. It's like we'll create the chance against Man City, but will Darwin put it?
It's like you got to put it on a plate for them.
Yeah, we're talking of strikers. What do you think of Højlund? Obviously, he's scoring a lot in the Champions League, but not so much in the league. 0 goals. What's your thoughts on that?
I think Højlund's brilliant. I think he's a great football player. He's got everything. He's similar in build to how Nunes is. Like he's tall, he's quite well built, he's fairly quick. Like it's funny because he sounds like his name's Haaland, doesn't it? Like that.
Yeah.
He's not that kind of player. I think Man United are in a horrible rut right now, which is quite funny. But him as an individual player, I quite rate him. I think he's good.
Okay. So Newcastle. Well, I think I'm gonna go with a Chelsea win purely based on the fact, of course, they've got the strongest squad at the moment with Newcastle with the injuries they've got. But even when Chelsea had that awful spell at the end of last season where it was almost like they're a championship team, they still got a point against Newcastle. So I'm gonna go with a 3-1 Chelsea win. I reckon Palmer will probably have a penalty and a Sterling goal, and someone else will probably score as well.
Jackson.
They could be a good team to get on FPL, actually. They might be a good team to sign someone.
Yeah.
All right, so next we got, I reckon it'll be a good game. We got Forest to Brighton. Because Brighton aren't in the greatest of form at the moment.
No, the international breaks come at a really good time for Brighton. They needed it. They were really struggling. Yeah. I'm going to back Brighton to get back to winning. Is there? I can't remember his name. Who's their left back? Is he?
Estupiñán.
Yes.
He should be back. I've got him on my bench still. I think.
If he's back, you'll have him and Matoma on that left-hand side, and I just think that's going to be too strong for Forest. I like Forest. I think Anwani is brilliant. I really rate him. I'm going to go... Do you know what? No, I was going to say 2-1. I'm going to go 2-2, actually. I just feel like Forest might get something from the game. I'm going to go 2-2. I think it will be a good game.
Okay. Harvey and Josh.
It's a tough game to call because I don't think Brighton have been brilliant. But Forest have looked good in spells, but not really been consistent. I could see it being a draw as well, but I'm going to say 1-1. I just think it would be a draw.
Yeah, personally, I agree with Pete. I think it's 2.
I'm actually going to go 2-1 Brighton. Now, I was looking at their goals scored per game this season, and Brighton actually have a very high number of goals per game. And I can see them probably putting 2, like maybe 1 in the first half, 1 quite early in the second half. Forest getting 1 back later on, maybe like Anthony Elanga or someone like that, and just nicking it, yeah. So, well, we got Sheffield United versus Bournemouth next. One in the relegation scrap. Pete, see your thoughts on this one?
It's just got 0-0 written all over it for me.
Fair enough. Harvey, Josh,
Who
do
was
you
it
agree?
again? Was it
Sheffield United and Bournemouth.
Sheffield United and Bournemouth? Oh God. It's just a relegation scrap, that game, isn't it?
It's a 6-pointer.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone had high hopes for Bournemouth this season because of how well we all saw them do last season, but they've just sort of not really kicked on. Got rid of Gary O'Neill, and it seems to have been a really big loss for them.
Yeah.
So I just hit draw. I just 1-1. It's got relegation 6-point all over it.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth probably will be biting themselves saying how well Gary O'Neill's doing at Wolves. I don't think he deserved to get sacked last year. But I mean, I believe Alex Scott's out of injury, obviously ex-Bristol City player, but he's a solid player, and I think they will miss him in that game. But I still see Bournemouth coming out on top with a 1-0.
I'm going to agree with you.
Is Semenyo still injured as well?
It's weird with Semenyo, isn't it? Because he doesn't seem to be played. Like when he starts, he scores, but he's always on the bench. I don't know if he's injured at the moment. I'm not sure on that one.
Well, we'll have to see, to be fair. We'll have to see. Yeah, I'm going to go for 1-0 Bournemouth as well. They got the momentum of beating Newcastle, and I think they carry it on with a result against Sheffield United. Next, we're going to, what's it, the G-Tech Community Stadium, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
For Brentford versus Arsenal. Now, I'm going to go, actually, you know what? Yeah, Pete, you start, sorry.
Brentford against Arsenal. On paper, Arsenal should batter them, shouldn't they? In a way, because Brentford are just not white firing. They were for a few weeks in a row, and Mbeumo was scoring almost every game. It seemed like. I'm still going to go Arsenal. I'm going to go 3-1 to Arsenal. I think it'd be uncomfortable for them. Like they might just get the last goal the last minute or something. But I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's difficult with Brentford because Brentford, another one of those teams that a bit on and off at the moment. I mean, they have really good performances, and then they can like 1 week can look not the best. I mean, but they seem to do better against the bigger teams. But I just still think Arsenal have too much for them going forward. So I'm going to say a 2-1 Arsenal win.
Yeah, personally, I think it might be a little stumbling block for Arsenal. I don't know what it is. I just feel like Brentford are one of those teams that can, hit you with just that 1-0, a 1-0 defeat, which, I mean, obviously would not be good for Arsenal's title hopes. Do you think Arsenal could win the league, Pete?
Yeah, of course they can. 100% they can. Obviously, there's all eyes on whether City are going to get deducted points. I think if that comes about, it won't happen this season anyway because it's taken them too long. Man City will win the Premier League for sure. Liverpool is probably second favourites and Arsenal third. I don't think anyone else is realistically in it. But yeah, Arsenal can definitely win it.
Okay. Well, wait, Josh, what was your prediction? 1-0.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to go 1-1. I've been looking at Brentford's form, and before the Liverpool game, they had actually won 3 in a row. I mean, Burnley, Chelsea, West Ham. That's not too bad of a 3-game win streak. So yeah, I'm going to go 1-1 in this one. We got a few games left. Sundays, 2:00 kickoff. Spurs versus Aston Villa at, I was about to say White Hart Lane, then the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Pete, what have you got on this one?
Honestly, mate, this could be either way or a draw. This is going to be really, really close. Tottenham, similar to Brighton, just fell off those last 2 weeks before the break. And Aston Villa are the most up and down team. They annoy me so much because you can't predict what they're going to do. I'm going to sit on the fence and say 2-2.
You know what? Save me speaking. I actually agree with you there, Pete. I reckon it'll be 2-2. Very, very evenly matched teams, I reckon, at the moment. But Josh, Harvey, who have you got?
That's a difficult game. I mean, Spurs after that Chelsea game, the amount of injuries they got from that game, because that game was just mad. And they didn't look great against Wolves. You could see they were missing the players that were injured and they've been suspended. So, you know what? I'm going to say an Aston Villa win because I think Villa have been really good under Unai Emery, and I think Spurs are really going to struggle without those players and injuries and stuff. So.
I mean, it'll be a big test for Spurs, I think. Obviously, it will show their mentality under Big Ange, I think. The fact, obviously, they've lost so many players, but I see Aston Villa winning, maybe 2-1.
Okay, fair.
Wow, none of us have gone to Spurs.
Yeah, imagine saying that before the Chelsea game.
No, literally, there it is. It just shows one game can literally ruin a team's spell.
But
if Madison is still out, isn't he? He's going to be out till January. So
they do have Udogie back. I think he's back from suspension, I believe. So that'd be.
I don't think he's the difference, though, is he? If you're Villa, you're going to feel confident going there. But the thing for me is, I think Villa played Nottingham Forest, and I was like, oh, that's Villa all day. And then they lost 2 or maybe even 3-0 or something. And I was like, wow.
Forest are one of those teams where you could either have a thrashing or like a narrow defeat to. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, we've got 5 minutes left on the meeting. So.
All right, so Everton versus United. Pete, 2 teams you absolutely despise. Have fun on this one.
Honestly, so this is a Super 6 game, so I don't know if you do Super 6. So I actually put this in 2 weeks ago almost. I've gone 1-0 Everton.
Wow.
United hate playing Everton.
Mm.
And even more with this points deduction thing, I think they're going to have a real fire in their belly. I'm going 1-0 Everton.
Mm. Okay. Harvey, Josh.
I mean, United are a bit on and off at the moment. I think if they can get Højlund scoring, I think they'll be fine. But
Højlund might not be playing. I think he's injured.
He's injured, yeah.
God, but United at home, or is it away?
Away.
Oh God, yeah, I could see a 1-0 Everton win there. It's got a 1-0 Everton win written all over that. That's what I'm going with.
For me, it screams Everton early goal.
Yeah.
Everyone's, memeing Man United. Then you'll get to the 88th, 89th minute, and they'll bring it back somehow. It'll be 2-1 Man United.
It's
That's just how
Fergie
I
time.
see
It's the philosophy of the club. But I'm going to go, actually, the reverse of Harvey and Pete. I'm going to go 1-0 United. They've got one of the most important players in the team back from injury, Luke Shaw. I believe the connection with Rashford will re-fire Rashford, and he will score the only goal of the game. I think it will be 1-0 Manchester United. And
that's a fair shout. That's a bit like what we said with Estepinian and Mitoma.
So Fulham and Wolves is the final game at Craven Cottage. Pete, what's your prediction on this one?
Fulham are decent. I'm going to say that Fulham will win the game. Wolves are decent as well. I'm going to go good game. Fulham 3-2.
All right, go on you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Fulham win. I'm gonna go for a 2-1 Fulham win.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game as well. But I'm a big fan of Gary O'Neill, and I think he's just I don't know what it is about him. Like I was watching him on Super. It was on either Monday or Sunday.
Yeah,
one of those.
It's like Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Are you in love with Gary O'Neill, Josh? Is that what it is?
No, I just think that he's such a good, like, how they went out and then beat Man City and stuff like that. I just see him winning maybe 3-2. It'll be a tight game.
Yeah, go on. I'll change my prediction. I'll go a 2-1 Wolves.
And after your prediction, Ben, can I quickly end it on a question, please? Because we got.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was actually going to agree with Harvey's previous answer. I was going to go 2-1 Fulham. I believe they've got a lot of creative spark in their midfield. They got Willian, who's still performing to this day. Was he 36 and he's still playing like he's in his prime? They've got Andreas Pereira, who I rate very highly. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Fulham.
Right, yeah. So I'd just like to finish on a question for you, Pete. What is actually next for Pete BOC?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, I got my Christmas single out tomorrow. If
Wow.
you want to plug that.
Give us the title.
Yeah, it's called Merry Christmas Liverpool. So that's coming up. That's literally out tomorrow. But I mean, as for 2024, I think it's time for me to change. So I might not really do TikTok very much longer, and I might completely change platform and move to more live stream action and more reaction videos and things like that, because I think that's the new form of kind of creative comedy content.
Yeah.
So if I don't like throwing his name under the bus because he's like a mate of mine, but if that kind of stuff like Angry Ginge does, where he just does funny reactions to things that he's watched, is kind of how I see trying to engage a new audience rather than just people knowing me for doing football songs.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Cool, Pete. I just want to say, mate, I think you're an absolute legend, and I think what you've done on TikTok has been like really, really inspiring. Going from a PE teacher to what you're doing now, it's been really good, and I think you're an absolute legend, mate.
Yeah, I'm bringing good vibes.
Yeah, and I think thank you for your time today and stuff.
You're always welcome. Like,
yeah,
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much. It is a different journey to most people, and obviously I'm a lot older than a lot of people who are on social media, especially on TikTok, but. Yeah, anyone can do this as long as you dedicate the hours and you can be bothered and you really kind of go through the grind. And if people don't like you, just block it or ignore it, then you'll be absolutely fine. So anyone who wants to come and have a crack at social media, yeah, I'm your proof that you don't age, looks, ability. Those things don't matter.
Thank you very much, Pete. We really appreciate your time today.
Guys, like really, really cool podcast. Thank you very, very much, Kate. Hope it's successful. See you guys real soon, yeah?